What's coming down the track are a series of difficult choices and tough decisions.
Austerity.
We know there are going to be difficult choices around spending, around welfare, around taxation. There's no return to the austerity that we've seen of years gone by, but we are clear that there are going to be some difficult choices.
So it's austerity light.
What's very different though for us is the focus on making sure that any changes we make to the tax system are fair, and to make sure we get the economy growing. Because crucially, getting the economy growing is the way to have sustainable funding for public services and to make people better off.
Do you think anybody who voted for you voted for a return to austerity 2.0?
Well, there's no return to the austerity that we've seen in years gone by. This is about making
sure... In years
sure...
gone by, there's your wiggle room.
Well, no, this is about making sure that the public finances are on a firm footing, because we've inherited a situation that we knew was going to be really difficult before the election. It's even worse than we thought it was going to be, because we've uncovered this £22 billion in-year black hole.
Keir Starmer said to the country today, his government is one that works with people, not does things to them. Those words do not match what you've just done to 10 million pensioners, throwing many of them under a bus by taking away their winter fuel payments.
Well, the difficult decision that we took when it comes to the winter fuel payment is to change the system so that it's now targeted at people who are in receipt of pension credit, to make sure the most vulnerable pensioners, those who need the support the most for the winter ahead, will still be entitled to it. I think we would all acknowledge that the winter fuel payment system we've inherited, where it goes to everyone, is not a well-designed system, and the Prime Minister said as much this morning. What we need to do is make sure that we are spending public money wisely in a very difficult situation we've inherited, and that does mean difficult choices. I'm not shying away from the fact that the decision we've taken around winter fuel payments was a difficult choice. So
you're asking pensioners to go coal this winter for the long-term good of the country, essentially. Some of these are the war generation, some of these suffered terribly during the pandemic, assuming they survived, and you're now throwing them under a bus?
Well, we've made sure that those pensioners who are in the greatest need, those who are eligible for pension credit, will still get the winter fuel payment.
You haven't made sure. There are 880,000 pensioners eligible for pension credit who have not applied, and nor have they done that for 10 years, and you're bringing this in 4 months. You haven't made sure.
Well, as I said, everyone who's eligible for pension credit will still be able to get the winter fuel payment. What we are focusing what we are focusing on now is making sure that everyone who's eligible for pension credit takes up that benefit, and then will get the winter fuel payment as well. But I think everyone would agree that if you have a fiscal situation like the one we've inherited, and you have a payment like the winter fuel payment that was going to everyone, it can be better targeted at those who need it most, given the state of the public finances.
Can I read you this email from one of our viewers? It's from a woman who says she's very concerned and extremely distressed on behalf of her dad about your government's decision to cut the winter fuel payments to pensioners. She says, "My father is almost 80. He receives the state pension but just misses out on the requirement for pension credit. My father's worked for the NHS diligently for years, paid his taxes, and even selflessly did some part-time work for the NHS during the COVID pandemic. The winter fuel payments were a lifeline for him these past years when the cost of living went up, and they helped him get by during the winter. Where is the justice or humanity in taking away this lifeline for my father?"
Well, that's obviously a very difficult situation, and I can understand that the daughter of the gentleman in question wants to raise her concerns, and it's important that we hear them. But I think there's no getting away from the fact that we are going to have to take difficult decisions.
Not as difficult as a pensioner might have to make this winter when they choose between heating and eating.
Well, we're making sure we protect the triple lock for pensioners, and so that will protect the state pension.
That's not going to help. That's not going to help this woman's dad.
If we have a situation where we don't have secure public finances, if we haven't got the public finances back on a better footing, that will impact pensioners along with everyone else.
So what would your advice be to this 80-year-old who just misses out on the eligibility for pension credit when it comes to paying his energy bills this winter?
Well, look, I'm not going to give advice for a specific person without...
Why not?
Because I don't want to get into specifics of one person and their
situation.
I'm sure
you don't, but this is exactly the effect your government's policy is having on specific individuals.
What I would say to them, though, what I would say to the gentleman and his daughter is that I realise that the decision we've taken is a difficult one. I realise that it's a tough choice that we've had to take, I realise that it will have an impact on people.
Being upfront is not going to help that gentleman pay his energy bill. Is cronyism bad under a Conservative government but okay under a Labour government?
Cronyism is something which Keir Starmer has made very clear he wants to drive out of government. You know, for him,
He's not doing a good job so far, is he?
Well, for him, process and procedure is absolutely critical. And I think, as he said that this morning at his press conference, he made very clear how important process and procedure is to him. And I think anyone who knows him, anyone who's listened to him and what he's had to say over the last few years knows how important that is to him. And that's
I thought you said you were going to be better than the Conservatives. Things were going to be different, you said.
Yes, and Keir Starmer has started driving that change by making sure that we are a government of service, that we're focused on the needs of the British people, rather than internal party politics or other distractions.
But you're giving civil service jobs, you have been giving civil service jobs to Labour supporters and Labour donors.
Well, there are clear processes and procedures in place which govern those appointments, and they need to be followed, but no one can be in any doubt how important this is to the Prime Minister. It's absolutely critical for him to make sure that we restore trust in politics and that we have processes in place that are followed.
Right. In opposition, Keir Starmer accused the Tory party of giving their supporters jobs for their mates. He promised to restore standards in public life with a total crackdown on cronyism. You've given jobs to Labour supporters or donors in the civil service, which is supposed to be impartial. You've given a security pass to the Labour peer who paid for Keir Starmer's spectacles and chinos during the election campaign. That is the definition of cronyism, isn't it?
Well, look, firstly, I'm not going to comment on individual cases.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to... It's not
We've all read about them.
It's not appropriate for me to comment on the process that was gone through in individual cases.
How does it smell, do you think? Does it pass the sniff test?
What I can say more generally about this is that people who are long-term involved in a political party and support a political party, that should not prohibit them from then helping the party in government. You know, that should not exclude them from being able to do that.
It's hard to see you making that argument if it was a Tory supporter or donor being given a job in the heart of government.
If you have someone, look, without commenting on the specifics, you mentioned Lord Ali, who I know has been a long-term contributor to the Labour Party and to our work in opposition and to try and get us into government. You know, so I know that someone like him has been long-term part of the project of trying to get a Labour government.
So what?
But I don't want to, but without getting into the specific details.
Well, you just have. So what? If he's been a long-term supporter of the Labour project.
That shouldn't exclude someone from helping us in government.
How does it look? What's the perception? This guy paid for Keir Starmer's, literally paid for his clothes during the election campaign. And then he gets a security pass and holds a reception down in Street Garden.
But that's why it's important to have the procedures and processes in place that need to be followed. And, you know, no one can doubt, having listened to Keir Starmer over many years and what he said today, how important it is for him to make sure we have those processes and procedures in place in government.
James Murray, thank you very much for talking to Newsnight.
Thank you.
Thank you.